What does freedom mean to you? Does it mean the freedom to choose? The freedom to have a family and raise your kids according to your own values? What about living a wild, adventurous life, experimenting with music, relationships, or art? What does freedom really mean? What if freedom meant something that only a few Americans still understood? What if it meant that your choices and your values were set by you, rather than by some politician in a far-off capital? Some people think we're only free to choose to live exactly how they live, by their moral code, or their narrow worldviews. But if liberty means anything, it means that you, and you alone, have the power to exercise your rights to which the laws of nature and nature's God granted you. It's time to put these principles back into action. It's time to restore the American dream, activate in our communities, and take our country back. It's time to wake up, America. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Happy Monday. It's time to rise in freedom. Saturday Night Live accidentally did something culturally relevant last weekend when they had Dave Chappelle on their show. Chappelle, of course, is trending today online due to comments that he made regarding Kanye West and the Jews. But most importantly, I think Chappelle's comments about Trump supporters is what we should really focus on the most. We'll do that at the top of the show. Then, Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri says it's time to build a new Republican Party. He's absolutely right, of course. The midterms show that Republicans lost independent voters by a wide margin. How do you appeal to the mushy middle? We'll discuss that this morning at 7:22 a.m. Then at 7:30 this morning, Tho Bishop from the Mises Institute joins me to discuss the brewing feud between DeSantis and Trump supporters. We'll talk to him about all the finger pointing that's going on, whether the blame is on Mitch McConnell, whether the blame is on Donald Trump for why people like Blake Masters lost in Arizona and around the country. And we'll talk to him about the strategy for Republicans going forward. And then at 8 a.m. this morning, the second biggest Democrat donor behind George Soros had his crypto empire collapse. We'll discuss all the corruption and, of course, why it's being blamed on libertarians. Plus, a special menu item returns to McDonald's, and I'm actually so excited about this that I'm going to give them free advertising to talk about it. All that and more on the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for coming in here. Dan Snow, Matt Unruly, Tyler Nelson. Good to see you there. Good morning, Tolly Owens. Good morning, Chris Morrill, Joseph Osborne, and others. You can text the show today if you'd like to have your comment read on air at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We're continuing our YouTube Blitz, which is basically me asking you a favor to watch the show if you watch it live on YouTube. But if you watch it later, to watch it on YouTube as well at youtube.com/AP4Liberty. And the reason why is because we are on the path towards monetization there over on YouTube, and we're actually getting very close. It looks like this morning I'm testing at 3,807 public watch hours on the show for the Wake Up America show. We need to get to 4,000 public watch hours, and at our current rate, I believe we will be there this week. So it will be interesting to see what happens, because in order to get monetized, you have to apply, and it's possible they can just reject you and say, no, we're not going to monetize you. Wouldn't it be sad if you get all the way there and they're like, no, we're just not going to monetize you at all? And then it would be a nightmare scenario. But that's what it is. It's the social media. We're going to have to talk about that this morning. You can send us a text again at 573-319-1586. One listener from the 762 area code says that, they're sending me text messages. We are definitely going to talk about the Republican Party comments that Josh Hawley made of Senator Mitch McConnell and others. Good stuff. It's going to be a great conversation. You aren't going to want to miss it. And good morning to our friend from, I believe, Philadelphia, the 215. Good morning. Oh, no, you're in DeSantis land. That's right. Our friend from DeSantis land with the Philadelphia phone number. Again, you can text the show at 573-319-1586. All right, so let's talk about Dave Chappelle. So Dave Chappelle's in hot water this morning with the ADL for comments that he made defending Kanye West. and his comments, but not necessarily his comments, but defending Kanye West on charges of mental health and why the reason why Kanye West made the comments that he made. And we are going to play that, and we're going to talk about the title segment, which is Kanye West being in trouble with the Jews. But I think actually more importantly is I would call it the third act of his Saturday Night Live monologue, which focused in on Trump supporters and the reason why so many people support Donald Trump, which I think is probably the most culturally relevant question. Let's take a listen to this third part of Dave Chappelle's monologue and break it down.
And I'm watching the news now, they're declaring the end of the Trump era. Now, okay, I can see how in New York you might believe this is the end of his era. I'm just being honest with you. I live in Ohio amongst the poor whites. A lot of you don't understand why Trump was so popular, but I get it because I hear
it. That's Dave Chappelle's monologue. There's more to that, and you definitely want to hear that stuff, but that's really good. Very funny. Let's transition back over to our shop scene so we can hang out and you can see your chats there. Good morning. Good morning. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. If you're new to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, I would love it if you would subscribe over on YouTube at youtube.com/AP4Liberty. That's youtube.com/AP4Liberty. The Republican Party is dead after major midterm election losses in Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Nevada, says Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri. Republicans need to rebrand and build something new after they failed to retake a majority in the Senate or meet general expectations for the 2022 midterm elections, says, Senator Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley tweeted over the weekend that the Republican Party is dead. The old party is dead. Time to bury it and build something new. Senator Josh Hawley says, am I really going to get hiccups in the middle of a segment? Yes, I think I am actually going to get hiccups in the middle of this segment. Let's see if I can will them away. Now, Hawley has been critical of the GOP because of what happened with the midterm last week, where the red wave failed to materialize. Hawley says that you can't expect to vote Republican unless you give them an agenda that they care about. He's talking about the Wall Street Journal's report that showed that the GOP lost independence by a wide margin, a very wide margin. Let me see if I can pull that article up real quick here. Yep, the GOP's lost independents. Masters, Bolduc, and Oz, among others, turned off swing voters. What cost the GOP is that it lost voters who identify as independents, who now make up a quarter to more than 40% of the electorate. According to Gallup, in October of this year, 33% of voters nationwide identified as Republicans, 29% as Democrats, and 35% as independents. So just to repeat, 33% Republican, 29% of voters are Democrats, 35% of voters identify as independents. 48% of the self-identified independents say they lean Republican, and 42% lean Democrat. That's interesting. So in a typical midterm, voters are usually inclined to swing against the party in power. That's been the historic record, right? Especially given, inflation and what's been going on with President Biden and his job approval. But this year, they didn't, right? According to this exit poll, the 31% of voters who identify as independent, 49% voted Democrat and 47% voted Republican. Independents favored Democrats by 4 points. Now, these are pretty, shocking numbers because in 2018, 54% of independents voted Democrat and 42 voted Republican. So in 2010, 56% of them voted Republican and 37% voted Democrat. In 2014, 54% voted Republican and 42% voted Democrat. The results are really bad for Republicans in key races. In Arizona, 40% of voters in the Senate race identified as an independent in an exit poll, and of those, 55% voted for Democrat Mark Kelly and 39% for Republican Blake Masters, who lost what many people believe was absolutely a winnable race. Now, in Pennsylvania, 24% of voters identified as an independent, and 58% of those independent voters voted for John Fetterman, compared to 38% voting for Oz. Same thing happened in Georgia, right? So what are we supposed to take from this, right? The message couldn't be any clearer. Independent voters in swing states might be unhappy with the direction of the country, but they didn't trust the Republicans enough to give them power. Abortion seems to have been one of the big factors that cut against the GOP this year. And now the question is how the pro-life party is going to adjust its messaging going forward in 2024. Mr. Trump's handpicked candidates who supported the whole stolen election of 2020 line, right? That has driven away swing voters, right? The excuse coming from, the MAGA media is that Mitch McConnell didn't spend enough money to save Blake Masters, but Mr. Masters didn't raise much money at all, and Donald Trump didn't give him barely anything. Donald Trump didn't give Blake Masters almost any money. So why is Mitch McConnell the one to blame? And yesterday when I was talking about this online, Tho Bishop's going to join us here in just a couple minutes to discuss this as well. Another person asked the question, well, if Senator Mitch McConnell is responsible for Blake Masters losing, which senator was responsible for Donald Trump winning? Right? It's a good question. Let's ask that question to Tho Bishop of the Mises Institute when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I enlisted as a medic to be there to help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun. Thank you.
Enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have. The facts on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty New Year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho! Good morning, it's 7:33. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Well, lots of finger pointing going on last week after the midterms failed to produce a red wave. So who's really to blame? Is it Donald Trump and time for us to move on? Or is it Mitch McConnell, who from behind the scenes failed to get out enough money in these key elections where people like Blake Masters and others failed to get across the finish line in winnable races? Let's talk to somebody who knows best. That's Tho Bishop. He is the communications director for the Mises Institute, and he's joining us on the line right now. Good morning, Tho. Thank you for taking your time with us today.
Thank you for having me, Austin.
Yeah, we were having this conversation on Twitter yesterday. I thought it would be worthy of a segment this morning on the morning show. The question of who's really to blame for people like Blake Masters not getting across the finish line. And you kind of, have feet in both camps here. Mitch McConnell didn't spend enough and Donald Trump didn't do enough. Do you want to make your case?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we have to recognize that we just have a profound leadership problem in the GOP and really just amongst sane people in American politics right now. I'm someone who has been a Trump fan, since 2016. I think that the Trump revolution was great. And that was an example of, I think, American Republicans were desperate for new leadership and wanted Donald Trump to fill that void. The problem is that we got a situation where Donald Trump didn't spend money that he got for his people, right? He was doing donation drives where $1 went to Blake Masters for 99 going to Donald Trump. If you want to be a leader of the party, you've got to spend and put your people in power. But Mitch McConnell certainly is to blame, spending more money on attacking Republicans in Alaska than getting Blake Masters to the finish line in Arizona. Kevin McCarthy, has been a complete disappointment, really his entire congressional career. The priorities, again, it doesn't matter if it's MAGA camp or establishment Republicans, all of them deserve the loss here. And it's really a troubling time right now.
If you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Tho Bishop. He's the communications director for the Mises Institute. Now, in one of the fingers are pointing out is the candidates who believed in the 2020 stolen election theme turned off the independents. Do you buy that?
Perhaps to a certain extent. I mean, it's something that I assumed going into this election. My kind of working analysis was that normal people kind of are underappreciated in politics, right? And so normal people are, they'll have inconsistent views, right? They don't want their taxes raised, but they want government to keep their hands off the Medicare and Medicaid. And I just kind of assumed that going into this, any turnoff they had maybe about some of the later Trump stuff, the way the media has presented things, all of the Democratic hysteria over January 6th, that was always going to take a backbench to, gasoline prices and the cost of steak and eggs going up. But if you look around, I mean, even though nationally, right, the turnout for Republicans was significantly higher than Democrats broadly, on these key races, the results are what they are. And there's something to be said. I think a big part of this is Republicans still have not caught up to the changes in the way that elections are conducted, right? I'm not talking about, the Kraken and voting machines changing tabulations after the fact. There's something to be said about Democrats having vastly overperformed in increases in vote by mail balloting. Again, some of these fundamentals on how elections are changed. And I think that perhaps is a bigger thing than turnoffs to independents generally. But the same thing, though, is complaining about it after the fact isn't good enough, right? I mean, we're dealing with a very sick and twisted left right now, doing everything they can to subject us to anti-human, very dangerous policies. And again, if we don't have an answer to that on the right to stop them, then we deserve everything that's coming. We need serious people handling these things. And what 2022 has shown is that we simply do not have that serious people up top.
If you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Tho Bishop, communications director for the Mises Institute, about what went wrong in the elections last week for Republicans. Now, a lot of the finger pointing that's going on right now is Donald Trump blaming, Ron DeSantis for, for this. And I know that you're a DeSantis Republican. It says so in your Twitter profile. What do you make of the attacks that Donald Trump has brought, the broadsides he's launching against your boy DeSantis?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I hate to see it. I think this is the first time really since 2016 where Donald Trump sees a genuine rival for the stage. And in particular with DeSantis, it's someone who is not an establishment guy, really, by my definition. He's someone who has a unique record where he can almost out MAGA Trump in many ways, right? When he was in everything that he did in COVID, he often had to do forcing a more traditional Republican legislature to do what he wanted them to do. He stood up not only to DC, but to corporate power, trying to become the enforcement wing of Fauciism. And so the specific accomplishments of DeSantis, I think, really threatened Trump's old hold over, let's say, the MAGA movement. And so I'm not surprised that Trump is lashing out. I hate to see it. In my ideal world of worlds, I would have much rather had 4 more years of Trump and 4 years of DeSantis really leveraging every single thing he could get from his governor's position, and then ideally go into 8 years of DeSantis afterwards. Given the results of 2022, given Trump's reactions to it, given the turnoff that his attacks on on DeSantis are having, even amongst friends, people here in Bay County, where I'm active in my Republican Party. This is a very MAGA club. They're not liking what Donald is saying right now. And so I'm not surprised by it with the egos involved, and it is what it is. And again, I have tremendous respect for what Donald Trump did, the energy he infused in this movement. But it's a bad look right now. He's hurting himself, right now. And again, the attacks that are going to start coming to DeSantis are part of the game. I trust that he's going to be able to handle it well. Trying to make him out to be some sort of, Kevin McCarthy plot against MAGA, while, you have Donald Trump out there trying to double down on Kevin McCarthy as speaker. It's a little funny in its own right. But I'm not surprised, but it is disappointing to see.
We're speaking to Tho Bishop, communications director for the Mises Institute, about the midterm elections. One last question regarding, surrounding the midterms. Over the weekend, the senator from Missouri, Josh Hawley, tweeted that the old Republican Party is dead and that it's time for us to create a new Republican Party that appeals to the massive amount of independence that the Republicans lost last week. I guess my question is, even though I agree with that on its face, though, is how do you create a new Republican Party that's appealing to independence, that still holds to the ideals of the MAGA movement, knowing that to some extent, some of the, the election fraud narrative of the MAGA movement is what I would, interpret as a millstone sort of holding it back. So what would a new Republican Party be? And, could people like yourself and myself, who are more libertarian Republicans, have a place in it?
I believe so. I think intellectually, the project that really kind of represents what Hawley's talking about, and really I think kind of defines DeSantis's intellectual worldview, which I think will become increasingly important on the right, is a sort of burgeoning national conservatism movement. And that I think is a more broad coalition where you have people with, particularly on some economic issues, there's a lot of interest in explicit protectionism, things like that, which I do not like. But on the other side, there's increased skepticism of the administrative state, kind of recognition that politics of old, the politics of the 20th century has been a disaster for the American cause, which I think is right into kind of a libertarian viewpoint of American history. The issue is, though, is that it's one thing to talk about these things and to gripe. Again, it's one thing to acknowledge that there are aspects of the 2020 election that were wrong, that democracy was weaponized. Again, we could look at, changes to the way elections were conducted in 2020, the way that big tech had a cartel censoring important information, which you can't have in a democracy, right? When information that would change the way that people would vote were coordinatedly censored, like the Hunter Biden laptop, that is a major issue. But we can't simply complain about it. We need solutions. And I think what Holly is pointing at is that the Republican Party right now simply isn't serious enough about the things they claim to care about. And I think this is true with Trump. I think this is true with McConnell. I think this is true with McCarthy. I think this is true with Ronna Romney McDaniels. And again, hopefully, if there's any silver lining that comes to this, it's that we have a complete changeover in the true leadership, and we have people of real merit, of really serious people. Even if serious people I may disagree with on very important issues, we just need serious people right now to really build a coalition that can stop, again, some of the very evil things that are coming from the left.
Yeah, and if I can, briefly interject my own point of view on this one, despite the fact that I think that the Republicans losing largely last week is harmful to our country, it's harmful to our economy, and it's harmful to many aspects of our society culturally. The one bright spot in this might be that the chaos offers people who are of our intellectual ilk or our philosophical mindset an opportunity to sort of rise. Where there's chaos, right, there's opportunity, right? Where there's crisis, there's opportunity, right? So now is a very good time for people who believe what we believe to rise up and to establish ourselves in positions of power within the Republican Party, so that if a new party is created, as we're discussing here, that people who believe what we believe, that might have anti-elitist views on the bureaucratic state or the deep state or the administrative state, whatever you want to call it, that we can work with them on those issues while still sort of like throwing elbows whenever they want to come in with protectionist trade policy or some other kind of central planning style solution that comes along with the more Theodore Roosevelt wing of the Republican Party. But I'd like to move on, though. I've got a couple of minutes left here. I'd like to ask you about the whole Sam Bankman-Fried controversy. We're going to talk about this later in the show. I mean, without making it too, minor of a topic here, it's already being blamed on libertarians, right, for this massive collapse of a crypto exchange. This Sam Bankman-Fried character, big Democratic donor. I mean, I guess the second biggest Democratic donor behind George Soros. Something's fishy here. What do you think is the big takeaway from this story? What are you really focusing in on, and do you think is the most important thing to know about this?
Well, FTX seems kind of like a perfect storm on it's a combination of like a really bad Ayn Rand villain with sort of a modern aesthetics, right? If you look at the guy, and really what this is all about is, I mean, FTX was trying to utilize the SEC, the regulatory state, to really hold itself up as the de facto crypto exchange, which if you talk to kind of the hardcore Bitcoin purist, right, they would say like, well, an institution like FTX is precisely what Bitcoin was meant to fix, right? Bitcoin was meant to decentralize the financial system to allow for true peer-to-peer exchanges, where something like an FTX becomes a centralized, regulated financial institution. And sure enough, right, this now we've got a good old-fashioned bank run happening in crypto, right? So FTX, the more that it resembled old financial institutions, that precisely is what created sort of its downfall here. And then again, everything that Sam Bankman-Fried tried to do, instead of presenting himself as the billionaire that cares, he just wants to give everything back, right? Of course, this is typically always a front for very nefarious, behind the scenes things. The political aspect is it just adds a whole other layer here. I have a feeling if it was a Republican donor if this was Peter Thiel, that was walking away with ran away with billions of customer funds, the way the media would treat this would be a little bit different than if it was Sam Bankman-Fried. But again, the libertarian criticism, it's always funny because in the libertarian space we can't seem to get anything right, and yet we are blamed for all the woes of civilization. Just another day in our little crazy world.
Can't win elections, can change the outcome, can't take power, but very powerful enough to destroy empires. That's Tho Bishop, the communications director for the Mises Institute. Tho, great conversation, great interview. We hope to have you back. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Austin.
Thank you very much. What did you think of Tho Bishop? Send us a text.
medic to be there to help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun. Thank you, Governor.
Had enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
It's me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty New Year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho! Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson, and you're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Happy Monday. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We love to hear from our listeners. Did you like the Tho Bishop there? I thought he did a pretty good job. We'll definitely have him back on the program. thewakeupamericashow.com, brought to you by people like you. Elizabeth Fanning Press sent in a text message this morning saying she thinks McConnell and McCarthy have to go if the party wants to grow. Come on in, my beautiful wife. Nice to see you this morning. I forgot my hard drive today, so thankfully I've got my better half who decided to show up and bring me my hard drive so I can get some work done after the show is over this morning. If you like what Stephanie is doing, how about you give her some applause? Like the stream. Do that for Steffi, because we certainly appreciate her. Without her, I would not be able to pull off all of this. Good morning to Shawshank 2024 or 0034 this morning, and Al Johnson, Greg Watson. Nice to see you there this morning. Thank you for commenting and joining us over on the live stream. We are so close to monetization on YouTube. We're at 3,807 public watch hours, 3,807. So I think we'll be at 4,000 this week. So that's great news. That means that we'll be monetized and be easier for me to make a little bit of money here. Probably I'll make like, $1 a week or something like that. Who knows? We'll see. The WakeUpAmericaShow.com is funded mostly by viewers like you who make monthly donations at WakeUpAmericaShow.com/support. And we're certainly grateful to everyone. Everyone who is a monthly supporter, of course, is getting a Christmas card. Yesterday, Stephanie was putting together the Peterson family Christmas cards. And those are going out to all of our monthly donors. So be on the lookout for those. If you are a monthly donor, you will be getting a Christmas card this year. We're super grateful to have you. All right, so best pickup line in a down economy isn't a pickup line at all. It's actually something that you might actually have in your wallet. No, not your credit card. Let's take a look at this clip that was going viral yesterday. Let's head over to our Twitter weirdness. Take a look at the expression on this young lady's face when this man shows her what he's got in his wallet. Take a look at this. Look here. Look at her face. Wow. What's he got there? What is that? Hold on. Pause. Let's bring it back. Do the forensic files. What is that right there? Oh, yes, that's right. His Costco card. Yes, that's what brings all the girls to the yard, gentlemen. Now look at this. Hold on. Let's watch this exchange here. Slow this down a little bit. Now look, he's got his little referee outfit on. He hands her his Costco card. Wow. Now that's the key moment right there when you know that he's in. Check it out. Wow. Right there. Look at that. He's got his Costco card. And I'm pretty sure it says star member on there. There's tiers at Costco, right? Where just like it's at the other big box store where it's like 1, 2, 3 tiers. You pay for more. So I'm pretty sure what we're looking at there is a star Costco card. Hold on. Let's see. She says, wow. Flips it over. Yeah. Looks like you've got that star on the card, which means that he's like, premium Costco benefits member. He's like, baby, I can get your tires changed, no problem. Maybe check your oil too underneath the hood. Who knows? What do you think about that?
Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake. Yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes. You like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchie Bullshit. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchie Bullshit blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
Do you have any real-world experience?
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
In order to save a native fish species in Montana's Glacier National Park, Park Service officials want to use rat poison to kill off a non-native species that Park Service officials put in the lake 100 years ago. In the early 1900s, government Park Service officials artificially stocked Gunsight Lake with rainbow trout to improve recreational fishing opportunities. Since then, the rainbow trout's population has increased, and through hybridization now threatens the existence of a different species of trout native to surrounding waterways. Rat poison that government officials want to use has been banned since 2005, is toxic to animals and humans, and has been linked to Parkinson's disease. This poison is a naturally derived compound and breaks down when exposed to sunlight, and officials can use other neutralizing agents downstream to limit contamination. The National Park Service has similar plans for waterways in the Grand Canyon as well. The federal government has confirmed a nationwide shortage of Adderall, months after nearly 2/3 of community pharmacies reported that they were having trouble filling prescriptions. And despite this shortage, the federal government also indicates that it will not raise the drug's production quota for next year. In case you didn't already know, Adderall is a federally controlled substance because of its potential for abuse, and patients in most states can only pick up 1 month's supply at a time, and generally can only do so a few days before their previous prescription runs out. In response to the current shortage, the Food and Drug Administration has recommended that patients speak with their providers about finding alternative methods for treatment. The Drug Enforcement Agency, more commonly referred to as the DEA, every year sets up a production quota for Adderall to establish the quantities made for medical, scientific, and industrial use. Prescriptions for Adderall last year were up 10.4% compared to 2020. Between then and now, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, officials had relaxed federal rules that had required traditional in-person examinations before the prescription of addictive drugs like Adderall and Xanax. And in response to these rule changes, there was a boom in telehealth startup apps that were designed to streamline this relationship between remote providers and their patients. One of these popular telehealth apps, known as Cerebral Inc., is now under federal investigation for deceptive and unfair advertising and marketing practices after the Federal Trade Commission announced that it was stepping up enforcement against companies that, quote, trick or trap consumers into subscription services.
Good morning, it's 8:03. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Glad to have you here today. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. Sorry about that whole it being Monday thing. All right, so Sam Bankman-Fried is the second largest Democrat donor after George Soros, and his crypto exchange, FTX, had a massive blowout. $16 billion fortune held by Sam Bankman-Fried just disappeared overnight. Not only that, but the latest news is that some $600 million of that got hacked in the last week, and it really impacted the crypto markets overall, where Bitcoin, I'm seeing this morning, really not looking too hot. Yeah, it seems that more and more that crypto is starting to look and act just like the stock market this morning. Again, you can send us a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586, and we'll be happy to hear from you. All right, so if you're trying to figure out exactly what this situation is with FTX and you need an explainer video, my friend Camellia Peterson, who I'm not related to, sent me this video over the weekend, which does a really good explainer of FTX, who Sam Bankman-Fried is, and a little bit about what happened in the last week. Let's watch this video and I'll react.
This is Sam Bankman-Fried. People call him SBF. He's the founder of FTX. He also controlled a crypto hedge fund called Alameda Research, but that's all gone now. He wants you to think he's this sweet guy. He even brought in a famous YouTuber who called him the most generous man in the world. Yep, that happened. Truth is, Sam Bankman-Fried is a liar and a crook. His personal crypto, FTX token, was basically a Ponzi scheme hidden below layers of Moonbro jargon. He even went on Bloomberg's podcast and bragged about it. Yep, that happened. He used his Ponzi token as collateral to borrow billions of real dollars that he couldn't pay back. He then used those real dollars to build an empire out of dying companies like Voyager and BlockFi. This led Jim Cramer to call him the new JP Morgan. That's weird. It's not like Jim Cramer to promote a billionaire con artist. SBF sold people cryptos like Bitcoin, or so they thought. What they really bought from SBF was an IOU. But as long as everyone didn't cash in their IOU at the same time, the scheme worked. Until it didn't. This other a-hole who hates SBF came along and engineered a bank run with some passive-aggressive tweets. It worked. SBF didn't have enough money to repay everyone at once, and now his customers have lost everything. He'll be happy to know that this is exactly how every bank in the world operates. So where did all the money go? He misappropriated $4 billion trying to save his failing hedge fund. Whoops, that's a felony. He spent $21 million on Super Bowl commercials, $5 million for the big guy, $40 million in campaign donations. I wonder what he wanted in return. And everyone who's pointing at this story and saying,
"This is exactly why we need to regulate crypto."
Remember that SBF stole billions. That's already a crime. And he spent a lot of it on bribing politicians. Also a crime, in order to create a crypto monopoly for himself. Government regulations don't protect the customers. They protect the crooks. That's exactly what SBF was trying to do.
Good stuff there. That was a minute and a half discussion by JG Nuke over on Twitter. You can follow him at JG_NUKE. Calls himself a melonhead, and his channel on YouTube is Unspecial, where he uploaded that post. So thank you very much to that melonhead. We appreciate you for that explanation. You can send us a text this morning at 573 319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. So what do you think about this Sam Bankman-Fried, by the way? Sam Bankman-Fried or Fried? I don't know. Fried, when I see his hair like that, it just makes me think that he looks fried. But Sam Bankman-Fried in the Bahamas apparently is his customers have been completely wiped out with billions of dollars, up to $2 billion in missing customer funds. He was spotted in the Bahamas. That's where his company is actually chartered. And FTX, his company, underwent this $16 billion implosion. This is a guy, 30 years old. He had donated $50 million to Democrats since 2020. And, FTX headquartered in the Caribbean, you get all these special tax breaks and stuff. You would think a good Democrat would want to pay his taxes by chartering his business in the United States. But no, that's fascinating. But what these guys are all a part of is this crew of people who call themselves EAs or EA investing. Essentially, not electronic arts, but oh goodness, I forgot the name of this. But basically, these are people who believe in and gosh, I'm forgetting the word off the top of my head. But it's when when you want to be nice to somebody, essentially, when you want to do something good for someone. And it was what Ayn Rand always railed against. She didn't believe in it. Send me a text if you can remember the word that I'm looking for. 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Now, this Sam Bankman-Fried character, he was not a libertarian. Okay, not everybody who's in cryptocurrency doesn't make them an anarchist or a libertarian, what have you. This is a guy who used his money not only to curry favor with Democrats, but specifically for the purpose of using regulations to try and edge out competition. So the money that he was spending on Democrats, I'm alleging that the reason why he was doing that was so that he could get sweetheart deals. Kim McCurry over there hooked me up. Altruism, right? Yes. Equitable altruism. There's something about effective altruism. There we go. Effective altruism. There we go. Thank you, Kim McCurry, for hooking me up this morning. It's a research field and a community that aims to find the best ways to help others and put them into practice. So these are people who are anti-capitalist, who use the capitalist system to try and bring down capitalism, in a sense. Effective altruism. It's a philosophical and social movement that advocates using evidence and reason to figure out how to benefit others as much as possible and taking action on that basis, right? That's their stated aims. But of course, people who are dominating to Democrats and asking for regulation, they're not really looking to do altruism. They're ends versus the means kind of people, and they will use absolutely any means to achieve their ends, which they claim is to help people. But what ends up happening is the money that they donate goes into the coffers and pockets of Democrats. And the accusations that are being made right now online are that Ukraine heavily invested in the government of Ukraine had heavily invested in the company FTX before it went bankrupt. And then that money was used to go to Democrats here in the United States. And the money that the United States taxpayers are sending over to Ukraine was getting invested into FTX, and then FTX was putting that money back into the pockets of Democrats. Are you seeing where I'm going here, right? This is like a recycling. Look at Laura Langton over there this morning, and Kay Moore and Al Johnson. Thank you very much for correcting me, for giving me that title. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that one. Altruistic, says Kay Moore. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us this morning, Moore. And Laura, Liberty Laura, nice to see you this morning. So consider this. Humanitarian aid, right, which libertarians are opposed to, right, goes to Ukraine. Ukraine takes that money, the U.S. taxpayer dollars, invests it into the company FTX. FTX takes that money, puts it back into the coffers of Democrats here. We are literally having taxpayer dollars. I believe, I allege that U.S. taxpayer dollars are being laundered through the government of Ukraine so that it goes back into the pockets of Democratic politicians here in the United States. What do you think about that? Send me a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Love to hear your thoughts on this one. So this effective altruism, this was a term that was coined back in 2011. They've got like a global conference. These are people who get together every year and they collude to steal taxpayer dollars to regulate industries to enrich Democrats, and so that American taxpayers are effectively paying for Democrat politicians to clamp down on competition. And of course, when this happens, what are people going to blame? Well, they're going to blame libertarians. Yes, libertarians are to blame. According to a gentleman this morning on Twitter, Matt Stoller says, your libertarian cult is responsible for this mess. You should take some responsibility for what you have wrought. Yeah. So libertarians are responsible for the economy, for FTX failing. Sam Bankman-Fried was a Democrat. He wasn't just any Democrat. He was actually the number 2 donor to Democrats after George Soros. He was a huge proponent of the regulatory state, and also a fraud, and he committed fraud, which he legally bribed to target others, not him. So he committed fraud. He used the regulatory state. He bribed the people in the regulatory state to regulate other people, but not him. That's not libertarianism. That is the complete opposite of libertarianism. Like Tho Bishop was saying earlier on the show, you just, no matter what you do, you just can't.
To boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate.
Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
Speaker Pelosi's husband Paul made a big investment in chips just before Congress votes on a bill that would give $52 billion in subsidies and tax credits to
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. It's Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's right. You've already guessed it this morning, Kay Moore. The steak, egg, and cheese. Yes, the McDonald's breakfast menu item is back on the menu in select locations across the country. And I'm excited, but I'm also not happy that I don't see that Missouri is included in the list of places that offer this delicious breakfast item. I found a TikToker who did a video yesterday talking about how they make it. Let's watch it. Take a listen.
Hello humans, Chef Mike here, former corporate chef for McDonald's, and we're going to take a look at how the steak is made. I've never seen this video, so let's hopefully it goes well. That seems like an excessive amount of butter, but that's okay. Hopefully you are not using blue gloves. You're supposed to use blue gloves when handling raw product, and that is how the steak comes in. And that opens up there, and now you have the blue gloves on, and it looks like you're seasoning the crap out of the steak. Maybe that little dispenser isn't working well, but there you go. Hello, human.
Oh my God, that looks so good. Do you remember the steak, egg, and cheese bagel if it's been taken away from you? Now, apparently, select customers in Michigan, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and New England are getting access to the steak, egg, and cheese sandwich. It's a bagel freshly toasted with real butter. It holds a tender, juicy steak patty, a fluffy folded egg, 2 slices of melty American cheese, and of course, my favorite, the savory grilled onions on top of it. Have you ever had the steak, egg, and cheese bagel? If you haven't, it's delicious. And I swear to God, I know that I'm talking, I'm talking like about this like it's some kind of like rare culinary item or treat. It's that good, okay? And like I know yesterday when I posted on Twitter that that the steak, egg, and cheese bagel was coming back and I was excited for it, people just started throwing poo. There's this like elitist mentality of attitude of people when it comes to food. You have no idea. And listen, I'm a food snob, okay? I am admittedly a food snob. If I had my way, I would much rather have a Jewish bagel from New York City where it was an everything bagel, double toasted with lox spread. No, not lox and spread. I'm talking about the lox spread that's made fresh with the smoked salmon actually already in the spread, and it's like sliced so thinly that you don't even get like necessarily chunks of the smoked salmon on there that goes inside that cream cheese. It's fresh made made that morning, and then you put it on top of the double toasted everything bagel. Yeah. Would I love to have something like that because I'm a food snob? Sure. But there is nothing that will bring out food snobs and like it will cause people to look down on you more than if you talk about McDonald's in a good way, right? Immediately people are like, oh, how could you eat that crap? Oh, it's not real food. Oh, I hope you enjoy a heart attack and all that kind of stuff. Everything in moderation. You don't eat a steak, egg, and cheese bagel from McDonald's every day. Duh. Are the bagels in New York City better? Probably. But are the McDonald's bagels that they use to make that go on, steak, egg, and cheese bagels, were they delicious bagels? Yes, they were. They were absolutely delicious bagels. But you know what the real secret was? There was some kind of a cheese sauce that went on top of those things. And listen, I haven't eaten one of these things in years. The last time I was able to have a steak, egg, and cheese bagel from McDonald's was in like 2014, I think. I'm dating it, but it's like it's been that long since I've been able to have a steak, egg, and cheese bagel here, because they don't have them here in the state of Missouri. But it looks like if you're waking up this morning, if you're in Michigan, if you're in Indiana, if you're in, let's see, Pennsylvania, New England, you have got steak, egg, and cheese bagels this morning. And of course, McDonald's breakfast served until 10:30 a.m. Nova Lox with red onion on an everything bagel, says Elizabeth Fanny Press. Oh my God, I'm so hungry. How about you? Send me a text, 573-319-1586. JGJ says he hates fast food eggs. Yeah, typically I do too, but I honestly feel like McDonald's did a pretty good job of it. What do you think? Send me a text, 573-319-1586. Sarah Palacios, thank you for not being, an uppity snob. She says, I will boldly declare that I love Mickey D's breakfast. Haha. I even prefer their coffee over a $7 Starbucks. Me too. I don't really like Starbucks coffee, to be honest. I think McDonald's coffee is actually pretty good. Don't you? I mean, now, are there any fancy food places that actually have better coffee? Or are there any fast food places that actually have better coffee than McDonald's? Maybe. I'm not sure. I've had pretty good coffee from Burger King before, but I'm not for sure about that one. Elizabeth Press is over there singing the praises of the Nova Lox cream cheese and red onion on an everything bagel. Yes, I know, but I don't live in New York City anymore. Al Johnson says he will settle for a Huddle House special. But what is this? No, says Buddy Mansour. Just no, says Buddy Mansour. No idea what he's saying. No to Waffle House hack. Ask for a dark waffle. What is that? What is a dark waffle? And anybody have any hacks that they want to share this morning? Some people even have McDonald's hacks, which I've never heard of. I always just order whatever's on the menu there. But I don't see where steak, egg, and cheese bagels are coming to Missouri at this point. So we're just going to have to, I don't know. We're just going to have to deal with it, if you will. All right. What do we have coming up next for Johnny? We have got 10 most regretted college majors. Oh, this is going to be good. The most regretted college majors. What do you think are in the top 10, would you say? Send me a list. Just guess 1, 2, or 3, college majors. I bet you'll never guess the most regretted college major from people who graduate. We'll talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Dee-Dee's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Dee-Dee made Frenchy Bush to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Dee-Dee really likes it. Dee-Dee said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
Do you have any real-world experience?
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Well, even with the college application season in full swing, a lot of families are questioning now whether a four-year degree is even worth it. Some experts are saying the value of a bachelor's degree is fading, and more emphasis should be directed towards career training. What do you think about that? Send me a text, 573-319-1586. A lot of companies, including a lot of them even in tech, are starting to drop degree requirements for a lot of middle skill and even higher skill roles. So earning a degree, they say, is worthwhile, right? According to College Payoff. This is a report from Georgetown University on education in the workplace. They say that bachelor's degree holders usually earn about 84% more than those with just a high school diploma, according to this report, right? And the higher the level of educational attainment, the larger the payoff. But when you break this down in areas of study, the difference is shocking. Students who pursue a major specifically in science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, are projected to earn the most overall. But in addition to STEM, health and business majors are among the highest paying, leading to average annual wages that are higher at the entry level and significantly greater over the course of a career compared with a liberal arts and humanities major, again, according to Georgetown. Now, the 10 most regretted majors, list published by CNBC, show, after graduation, they say reality hits. 44% of all job seekers with college degrees regret their field of study. What about you? Send me a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Do you regret your college degree? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. What did you study? Quest Fanning looks like he went to school for computer science. I imagine he does not regret his degree. Science, technology, engineering, and math. Most regretted college majors. Let's start at the bottom of this list. This is according to ZipRecruiter's monthly survey of job seekers published in November of 2022, this year, this month. English language and literature, 52%. So at the very bottom of the list, people who majored in the English language, people who majored in English or lit, 52% of those people regret their degrees. Well, what do you do with an English degree, right? Teach English, right? So what do you do with a literature degree? You teach literature, right? So have you ever heard of an English major going on to do incredible things in the workforce? I don't know. I guess I never thought about that. English, I didn't major in English, but I did major in something fairly close. But, well, my degree isn't exactly on the list, but pretty close. But it's more close to the top of degrees that people regretted. So we'll get to that. Biology. Now, I don't understand that. 52% of people who majored in biology say that they regretted it. What doesn't that fall under science, right? So if you major in biology, isn't that kind of a pre-med course, right? So if you're majoring in biology, you're going to go on to become like a medical scientist. Am I incorrect in this one? I need to know because honestly, I'm ignorant because my degree is much closer to the top of degrees that people regretted. The one after that one, I'm not honestly surprised that this isn't higher on the list. 56% of people who got a political science degree in government regret their degree. Yeah, I know people who, majored in philosophy and went on to do, went on to do well for themselves. That's probably not the norm. Most people who major in philosophy or political science, well, unless they really do truly get active with campaigns, then they're not going to do well. And typically, the only people who do well in politics and campaigns are the people who are corrupt, who sell their souls and are selling our soul down the country just so they can make a paycheck. The political consultants to these campaigns who are siphoning off millions of dollars largely, right? So, frankly, political science, if you're majoring in something like that, in order for you to really be successful, you're going to have to sell out at some point. So, you're in there, you're a mercenary, right? You're not a freedom fighter. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you on this one. Bio classes are no joke. The professors say, according to JGJ over the live stream, he says biology classes are no joke. Yeah. Cecilia Harden says she has a math degree and she loves what she does. She's a data systems administrator. She does a lot of the analytics for her company and has the logic to get our systems to talk to each other. Well, that's good for you, Cecilia. You majored in something useful. You don't regret your degree. Congratulations. Good, great, grand. I'm happy for you. The rest of us, unfortunately, maybe we're not so lucky to make that decision, an intelligent decision. We were young. I was 18. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. The next one up there, medical and clinical assisting. 58% of people regret a degree in medical or clinical assisting. I guess you have to have a degree to do that to a large extent. You would think that, again, some of these don't make sense to me because it's like you would think that a medical assistant or a clinical assistant, good paying job, good paying career, but I guess you probably don't have to have the 4-year university degree for some of those things. There's a lot of that stuff that you can get from like basic certification processes or things like that. Maybe if there's anybody here in the healthcare field that has more information, they could send this to me. I'd love to hear why somebody might regret a medical or clinical assisting degree. I would think that, part of that would be a certification process that would make you prepared and ready to roll out the door to go work for a doctor or with a doctor, if you will, like, x-ray technician, if you will, but I have no idea. Send me a text, 573-319-1586. Reasons I'm a tech guy rather than a doctor, say JGJ. Al Johnson says politicians siphoning money off the top. Who knew? Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. All right. So next most regretted degree, marketing management plus research. 60% of people who got a degree in marketing management and plus research regret it. That surprises me too, just because that is such a booming industry. And maybe it's just, I've kind of got the goggles on because that's, tangential to the industry that I work in. But marketing management, I mean, there's a lot of money in being a marketing manager. If you know how to program Google Ads, if you know how to program Facebook ads or get advertising on TikTok, you can make a lot of money. But I guess you know what it is. It's probably just that it's so niche, and that people who do this, like there's a very small community of people who do this, and so it might be tough to break into, or just most people aren't successful doing this. But marketing management and research comes in at one, two, three, four, fifth from the bottom. Next one doesn't surprise me. Now we're starting to get into degrees that don't surprise me at all. 61% of people who get an education degree regret it. So if you went to college to become a teacher, 61% of people are going to regret that. And, it's probably the money, which, doesn't make a lot of sense if you think long term. Teachers do better when they're retired than they do when they're teaching. And I would think that, that's kind of, excuse me, part of the allure of teaching is that that you're going to struggle for 30 years, not making a whole lot of money, but that at the end of the 30 years, you are going to receive a lucrative pension and you'll be taken care of in your old age. But I guess, 61% of people who had a degree in education regretted it. That likely has to do with, the meager amount of money that they make while they're working. The next one, this is a little bit closer to what I actually majored in, although it's not exactly. 64% of people who got a communications degree regret it. And, to a large extent, it's all what you do with it, right? So, yeah, I work in communications. I'm one of the very lucky few people who majored in, got an arts degree and still works in the arts, right? My afternoon show, the Austin Peterson show that's on the St. Louis station out Real Talk Radio Network, that's a communications thing. So musical theater is what I majored in exactly. And do I regret the degree? Yes, to an extent. I probably should have majored in it, but if I had chosen something else, knowing what I know, I would have probably chosen to major in the absolute most regretted degree on this list, which I haven't gotten to yet, but I will in just a moment. Communications degrees are the most regretted, are not, are the fourth most regretted degree. But the only other thing that I can think of that I might have majored in is the most regretted degree. So, Austin, your life was destined to be difficult. The next one is more related to what I did again. The third most regretted degree, liberal arts and general studies. This is the third most. 72% of people who majored in liberal arts and general studies regretted it. So I don't regret it because I actually double majored. So my musical theater degree, in order to get a BFA versus a BA, most people who get a 4-year degree get a BA, but I had a BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, versus a Bachelor of Arts. And in order to get a Bachelor of Fine Arts, you had to double major in whatever your arts degree was, and then you had to get a liberal arts degree at the same time. So I had to complete, at Missouri State University, everybody who goes to Missouri State University essentially, has to double major. You have to have a liberal arts degree, and that's your base degree, and then you have to get another degree as well, and then you can minor, but in some sense you're getting kind of 3 degrees. Liberal arts or general studies, of course, 72% people are going to regret that if that's all you majored in. Thankfully, that's not all I majored in, but if that's all you majored in, just getting a liberal arts degree, 72% of people regretted that, and that doesn't surprise me at all. Now, the second one, yeah, this makes perfect sense to me. Uh, the second most regretted major of all of college majors is sociology. 72% of people who majored in sociology regretted their degree. And, it's not even like economics, where it's a social science that people, you're going to get hired to. They're not handing out sociology jobs down at the sociology plant, okay? Like, to get a job and work anything related to sociology, essentially you're going to work for a government, right? Or you're going to work for a think tank in third worlds, and you're going to be doing, demographic data, or you're going to work for the US Census Department, okay? Does anybody remember their sociology classes from college? I took that as an elective in order to complete part of my liberal arts degree, and I remember thinking to myself, even though I was young and very naive, about, like, what classes were useful in terms of a career, I still remember being in my sociology class and at the end of it being like, wow, this is the easiest class I've ever taken. and this information is totally useless because it's so subjective, right? If you think about sociology and the study of human interactions and human behavior, so society, uh, it's all very subjective. So whatever teacher you have is going to impress upon you whatever they think is the most important part of sociology, and so you don't really get useful skills that you're going to be able to take forward into your career. What do you think? Rare Camellia says that communications was my first major. Unruly said, you had a BFA, but I had a BFF. Very funny, Matt. All right. So let's look at the very top degree that people regret. And that is, this is a degree. Now, if I hadn't majored in musical theater and gotten a BFA in musical theater, maybe before I saw this list, I would have chosen this as my major. 87% of people who majored in journalism would regret. Yes. 87% of people who majored in journalism regret their degrees. That's right. When we graduate, reality hits. You're barely managing to pay your bills. Your paycheck suddenly becomes more important. What do you think about that? Yeah, journalism majors. Now, I know it's nice. We like to hate on journalists, and certainly they are hate-worthy. But remember, your boy AP is a journalist as well, okay? Well, that and a few other things. A man of many hats. But now that I've seen this list, I guess I'm glad I didn't major in that. Although it probably would have come in handy because I ended up working in journalism. My mom was a journalism major, says Elizabeth Fanning Press. Little D Trucking texted in, said, I didn't go to college, and I'm just a dumb truck driver, but I made $9,300 last week. Although I have to pay $5 a gallon for diesel at 6 miles per gallon. Okay. Well, we'll talk about all that and more when we get back. We've got left to go. Finding the funny in The Godfather. Godfather film just keeps popping up. Conversations that I've been all around. Steffi and I have been talking about The Godfather, and I like to think of The Godfather as a heartwarming family film. So we'll talk about all the funny moments from The Godfather when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Diddy's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the
I enlisted as a medic to be there to help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun. Thank you, guys.
Enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts, on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty New Year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho! Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching us live. If you are, we'd love it if you join us over on YouTube. We are so close to monetization over at youtube.com. Just saw a friend of the show went over to the AP for Liberty shop this morning and decided to make a nice purchase. It's a good time to go ahead and get in your Christmas shopping if you're looking for a great item for a Liberty lover and your family. Head on over to AP for Liberty shop. That's AP the number 4, AP for Liberty shop. If you kind of see down here what I'm pointing at, how do I? Right there. We've got some Thomas Jefferson Buddhas for you. Our awesome sweater. This is a really hot seller right now. This sort of like flirty, off the shoulder, let's get baked gingerbread man sweater. Very cute item. Those items run a little bit small, so if you want it to really fall off your shoulder, you gotta get one that's just a little bit bigger. So make sure you check the sizing chart on there before you order for your lady, or if you order for yourself, lady. Of course, all of our awesome firearms keychains, which gives me no end of trouble, from Facebook, Instagram, Google. They do not let me advertise those on their platforms. So here I am advertising them on their platforms. They're not paying attention, are they? You can check out those awesome keychains. I've got an M16 keychain, a Desert Eagle. The Desert Eagle one is actually a working, when I say working, it doesn't fire, but it is, you can rack the slide. It's got a little magazine you can remove and stuff. It's an awesome keychain. You'll definitely love to brag. And yes, so the trigger and the hammer work as well. You can get one of those at AP for Liberty shop. That's AP, the number 4. I think I've actually got one here with me right now. Yeah, I do actually. Sweet. Check that out. Let's move on over to our smaller camera here. Check out this awesome Desert Eagle right there. Bam, baby. And look at that. You can rack the slide on that sucker. Nice, huh? Pretty sick. And then, of course, the got a tiny little bullet. I've got one right here. You'll have to get one yourself. I've only got 4 of these, I believe, left in inventory. So if you want one, you better get one today because they'll be gone for the holiday rush. And, of course, it takes longer for things to get delivered during the holiday season. Remember, I'm not Amazon.com, so I can't ship these things necessarily in 2 days and guarantee delivery in 2 days. If you want one of the items from the AP for Liberty shop, now is the time to head to the AP for Liberty shop. Get your order in, get your shirt, whatever it is that you want. Especially if you want like a Liberty Buddha and you wanted that by Christmas, because a lot of those now I'm making those to order and then shipping them out. So it takes a few days sometimes to get them in the mail. So if you want any of the items from the AP for Liberty shop, I'm telling you, right now is the time to be headed over there and to get yourself some items, some merch from the shop. Okay, what do I have for my final topic for you today? Oh yeah, finding the funny in The Godfather. I thought this was an interesting article yesterday. Leave the gun, take the cannoli. Right, everybody remembers that famous line of Peter Clemenza. Right, he's leaving the scene of this crime. He's a mafia capo. Heads out to New Jersey. Supposedly supposed to be running a few errands, and then he kills a traitor. Right, the mobsters reach a desolate stretch of New Jersey, and then they shoot the guy in the head. And Clemenza comes over and says, "Leave the gun, take the cannoli." Right, it's one of the most quote-worthy moments in The Godfather, but it's also like the funniest line from the film, which is supposed to bring like a little bit of levity from the mob hit. Right, that said that the movie isn't entirely humorless, even though it's a very serious film. There's actually more than a few laughs to be found in the whole runtime, from like geriatric crooners losing their teeth to James Caan's "bada bing, you can blow the brains all out all over the place," right, to a stray cat that eventually became indelible to the film. Remember, Godfather, when he's sitting there with a little kitty on his, stroking the kitty while he's talking about, committing all of these crimes. Now, the opening of the Godfather scene has got another really good, funny scene where the actor who plays the Don's hitman is, what's the guy's name? The Godfather, the best scene. Marlon Brando is sitting down and he gets approached by Luca Brasi. That's what it is. Luca Brasi from The Godfather. So when you see this scene, Luca Brasi is sitting down and he's rehearsing his lines before he goes into The Godfather. And what a lot of people don't know is that actually was really him rehearsing his lines, because the actor was so nervous about meeting Marlon Brando and doing a scene with Marlon Brando that the character Luca Brasi came in and appeared nervous. Well, he was actually nervous to be working with Marlon Brando. So when he's sitting down outside waiting to be ushered in, he's rehearsing his lines, "May your child be a masculine child," and all of that. Well, that's actually him being nervous, sitting outside, practicing his lines for the film. He was Lenny Montana was the guy's name. He's a former pro wrestler, and he was actually a real life mafia guard. But despite all of that, he was actually nervous to meet and do a scene with Marlon Brando. So that's obviously a really funny. Funny moment from the film. Now, Sonny Corleone's "Bada Bing," right? So when James Caan did his performances, just Sonny Corleone, he actually based it off of a comedian, famous comedian at the time. He's apparently was struggling with coming up with his character and how he was going to play the role, and he started thinking about Don Rickles and his ability to do anything. And so the next morning, Sonny's personality was essentially Don Rickles, the comedian. So when James Caan comes up there and he says "bada bing," and you blow out the guy's brains all over your nice Italian suit, the "bada bing" was just an ad lib that came out of his mouth because he was trying to imitate Don Rickles. Also, some other famous jokes. Apparently, Marlon Brando was a big fan of practical jokes. Marlon Brando would drop water balloons from his apartment on 52nd Street in New York. And when he was on the set of The Godfather, there's this scene where the Don is in his cot. Well, Brando's cot gets lifted and moved in order to save his life. Well, Brando had 300 pounds of weights hidden into the cot so that the men who were carrying him and it up the stairs could barely lift it. And apparently during the Godfather film, there was a contest where they all mooned each other. And Marlon Brando won this contest because he mooned the entire wedding scene in the film. He was named Mighty Moon Champion by the end of the film. And of course, last but not certainly not the least, leave the gun, take
It's morning again in America. Our country is prouder and stronger and better.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.